Alright, here's a reaction to For Classic Plus to Live, WoW Must Die. I'm guessing they're talking about how there's way too many versions of Classic WoW at the moment, and then they consolidate it for it to work better.
I first played WoW 18 years ago. I've played all expansions since release, but as the game evolved, it became something I no longer recognized. Until in 2019, when Blizzard made a decision no one ever thought they would. They re-released the original game. Vanilla is and will always be my favorite iteration of the game. No flying mounts, less endgame focused, more open world. For me, Vanilla felt about as close to perfect as an MMO can be. And let me tell you, when it came back, it wasn't just me who felt that way.
Yeah, that's very true. I feel like the classic version is the truest version that's closest to an actual MMO. I feel like it's kind of lost its roots as the years have progressed and all the different expansions. It's definitely changed a lot with flying mounts.
Classic success might have been a surprise for Blizzard, but for us, it was inevitable. Though during that time, I couldn't help but thinking, is there a future for Classic? And what exactly would that look like?
What is going to happen after Classic WoW?
The idea of Classic Plus had been brewing online for years, and in 2023, I made a video about it.
Yo, this video was great, man. Holy fuck.
Damn, that hyped me up for Classic Plus even more now.
This is a really good video, man.
The video was received pretty
Yeah, dude. Even this video, the editing's freaking amazing.
well, but not by everyone. Imagine having faith in Blizzard. Delusional Classic play.
That's true. For years and years I've been asking for them to re-release Classic WoW, and there's always the private servers that Blizzard would always sue them and get taken down, and it took them a lot of effort of the community to get Blizzard to actually re-release the servers.
Sounds lame. Very constructive, dude. Thanks a lot. For some, it was impossible to believe. But at BlizzCon 2023, it became a little bit less impossible. Season of Discovery promised the beginning of a new era for Classic. A Classic Plus beta, a testing ground for what Classic Plus could become. But what happens when you change something that's already so close to perfect? Is there a chance the game could be ruined in the process? What does this mean for the future of Classic?
That's true. There's a good chance they just ruin it and turn it back into retail.
This is the Classic Plus dilemma.
It's like a catch-22 when you update the game that's 20 years old.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. There really is something different about Classic. There are very few games that have stood the test of time for this long.
Yeah, that's very true.
Everyone has their own opinion on why that is. This is one of the main counter-arguments against Classic Plus. How can Blizzard make alterations to a game so beloved by millions and not alienate half the community in the process? Some people want new dungeons and raids. Some people want to explore unfinished zones and quests. And some people want the game to evolve into TBC Plus. So who does Blizzard listen to? Do they listen to their core Classic audience, or do they risk fundamentally changing the game in hopes of bringing in a new, potentially bigger crowd? The truth is, I don't even think Blizzard knows yet. This seems to be the core design philosophy behind Season of Discovery. Throw enough shit at the wall, and surely something will stick, right?
I guess that's really the only way to test it, right? It was like, but I guess you're never gonna make everyone happy because everyone likes different versions of the game. So, how do you balance of what the right changes are to make everyone happy? I don't know if you can make everyone happy.
Or is there a possibility that it could divide the community more than ever?
Have you ever wondered what it might be like to be a tanking warlock? Or take on the role of a mage healer?
A mage healer is super broken.
To the possibility of completely new experiences and the prospects of exploring previously unfinished or unused locales for future raid and dungeon content. It's right here, level 60. I
He's
is
hyped.
You see, when you push the game this far, you're going to attract a different sort of crowd. The kind of crowd who enjoys how different it feels, who likes the homogenization of classes, the hyper-focus on endgame, and the abundance of quality of life.
A lot of people are enjoying Season of Discovery. Even retail Andies who have never played Classic WoW before.
Now all of a sudden, the Classic community is split perfectly down the middle. Suddenly we have new voices contributing to the Classic Plus discussion, and a seasonal server purely dedicated to finding out what the community wants for Classic Plus makes that question all the more difficult to answer.
This is exactly the reason why I stopped playing Sauce.
This is one of the most fun times that you could ever have playing World of Warcraft Classic.
This is why you don't do band-aid fixes, man. Like, oh my gosh.
The season discovery shit is actually hype.
Does the team even PvP?
How would I approach Classic Plus if I was in charge?
We're more divided as a WoW community than I've ever seen.
Minimal changes. Otherwise, you have Sol.
Despite the season's polarizing nature, it's also been a huge first step in the realization
Yeah, it is very
of Classic
polarizing.
Plus. And as we've seen the Classic team grow and grow since its inception, it's clear that it's a concept that Blizzard have started to take seriously. But no matter what the Classic team does, they're going to upset someone.
Yeah, that's
They've
very
been given
true.
the impossible task of taking the most renowned and respected MMO of all time and making it better. And while it might
That's true. There's no making everyone happy. Someone's gonna not like the changes.
seem simple, I think you'll be surprised at how many circles of players out there are pining for different things. The weight of that responsibility alone is immense. So how do the developers decide where to focus their limited resources? Well, there is a solution to this, and I'll get to that later. But for now, we need to talk about what is, in my opinion, the most fundamentally important factor in guaranteeing the longevity of Classic Plus. Historically, WoW has always developed and distributed content in cycles, be it from fresh servers where everyone starts from level 1, or expansions that more or less trivialize all the content before it.
This is a major problem with vertical design. It invalidates old content extremely quickly.
This is Blizzard's biggest issue when it comes to Classic Plus. If WoW sticks to its predominantly vertical design, we risk falling into the same trap, with an ever-expanding power level that will eventually invalidate the older content in the
That's true, because eventually you get enough gear and then you just overpower the content and this becomes easy.
same way as other MMOs do.
New content doesn't become more of the game, it sometimes becomes the only part of the game worth doing.
Fresh servers are also bustling with activity in the first few months, but eventually players run out of content and resort to raid logging while awaiting future patches.
You've cleared the raid, you've seen every possible bit of PvE content that there is, but there's still something to do. Doesn't seem like it has that.
A horizontal design, by contrast, would focus on adding evergreen, supplemental content that enriches the existing ecosystem without overshadowing it. This kind of design can prevent raid logging by giving players more content that isn't time-gated. And when it does come to new raids in Classic Plus,
I don't want them to add content onto the top of WoW and then increase the power creep even more. It's gonna spin out of control and it's gonna be stupid.
Instead of stacking more power on top of what already exists, rewards should offer different power. Unique set bonuses tailored to different playstyles, distinct item benefits, or rare cosmetic items.
What if there was a new set of gear that was in the game that wasn't really that much stronger than the next set, but it gave you more build variety and it allowed you to do different things with your class?
So how should Blizzard find new ideas for horizontal content? Steal them. They gotta fucking steal. The funny thing is, this is exactly what Blizzard did to create WoW in the first place. They took concepts and systems from other
Perfect. Just take an idea from a different game. There you go. Easy.
MMOs and made them more digestible.
One of the things that Blizzard has always done so well over the years is take types of games that had previously appealed only to a narrow audience and make them accessible to a broader audience.
We were playing EverQuest, Ultima Online, and we thought, you know what, we could do that. Why don't we make one of these? This is awesome. I mean, why don't we make a game that we love?
You couldn't help but play it and say, well, this could be improved, or we could spin the content this way.
Every single piece of art that has ever existed has been in some way inspired by someone or something else. And in my opinion, WoW's fundamental design philosophy has to change if Classic Plus is to thrive. Thankfully, there are games to draw from in the MMO landscape. Those are the games we need to look to. We can look to old school RuneScape for their solo content and player agency, or look at Guild Wars 2 for their map completion and exploration content. And finally, look at private servers. Henhouse created a space for the vanilla PvP community with its dueling server. And Turtle WoW has made possibly one of the most well-received versions of WoW ever by following this exact framework. They took the game we all love and fleshed out the world in the spirit of vanilla. With a more horizontal design, Blizzard can make evergreen content that will be relevant forever. And whether we trust the devs to make the right content or not can be a decision that's entirely in our hands.
But can you trust the devs? That's the question.
It's like a soft encouragement for us to keep talking to the players and kind of steer us in the right path.
Can I just say how awesome this is? Jagex are actually giving us the ability to decide what we want in RuneScape.
Make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Considering Old School just reached its peak player count of all time, there must be something good going on with the polling system.
Polling incoming changes removes the situation we were in with incursions. You can't poll class balance changes or faction-specific changes for obvious reasons. With polling, not everyone is going to get what they want, but that's always been the case. And with polling, some people, in fact most people, will.
I know that whatever I do has to pass a poll. That's always in the back of my head. So I know I can't half-ass this.
Jagex has their finger on the pulse. They release polls to the players to help decide the future of old school RuneScape.
And it's stopped us from making mistakes. It's stopped us from doing things that wouldn't have been good for the game. It has made content better.
Whether any of these ideas make their way into Classic Plus or not, the ball is well and truly rolling.
That's kind of a good point, because that's how you ended up with Classic to begin with, was listening to the community. There's a huge community demand for Classic servers for years. And then they finally did it and ended up being huge.
And if Blizzard wants to solve the Classic Plus dilemma, they need to start taking inspiration from people who have already dedicated years to these ideas. Because it's clear that Classic Plus isn't a pipe dream anymore. It's an absolute certainty.
It's gonna change everything. It's gonna happen for sure. Hey, yo, 100%.
Classic Plus could be like the next big thing for WoW if it's done correctly.
The speculation that we all had about the Scarlet Raid was pretty accurate from the beginning.
You have Classic Plus that's set in Azeroth, and you're exploring the stuff that was already there.
That'd be sick.
Chat, we're in! We're in the Karazhan Crypts!
They made original content that's nowhere else in all of World of Warcraft.
Pretty much every version of Classic that we have at the moment always had scores of people saying that none of it would ever happen. But people keep asking for things, and things keep happening.
I think the community just needs to reflect on what we're doing as a team and try to think about why we're doing it. Why do we have an experimental seasonal server? You know, without saying anything.
I love the idea of horizontal progression through vanilla.
This is our sort of test bed.
And having a raid based
Man,
on the skull.
the editing of this video is
like
amazing.
a dream scenario for me.
For Classic to thrive, it must be reborn.
This is the fertile ground to grow ideas for the future.
For Classic Plus to live, WoW as we know it must die.
Oh, that was a good video. Yeah, they're gonna have to figure out some way to make it to where they can add new content, but where you don't get the power creep of having too good gear, where you make all the older content completely irrelevant. It'll be interesting. We'll see if they can do it.